honor those who have won the battle with cancer, a time to give hope to those who are fighting, and a time to grieve those that we have lost. As we view the luminaries and the light they bring to the darkness, this is a time to reflect on the paths that brought us here tonight, the paths that have brought us here for one reason, to eradicate a disease. Tonight we have the honor of Mr. Eddie Creer, known to many as Mr. C, as our guest speaker.
Good evening. Thank you. It's my pleasure. Let me preface my talk with a few things. I am a Christian. I'm a follower of Jesus, and that shapes my whole life perspective. And so if I were a Muslim, I'd be quoting Allah. If I were a Buddhist, I'd be quoting Sanskrit and things like that. But I will quote my perspective, and I will let you experience some of the journey that I've had since I was diagnosed with cancer back in November. The symptoms appeared in August, and the diagnosis was Thanksgiving Day. I want you to know that my theme, my thought, the one thing I'm going to leave with you, I'm going to leave with you right now, because it's going to keep coming back, is the word flourish. Okay? And so keep that in mind. But when I first got cancer, there was kind of an elephant in the room. There's a story that a person went over to another person's house for a social event, and when they got inside the house, there was an elephant in the room, and everyone just kind of just stood around and acted normal and didn't say anything about it, and they felt it was kind of odd, and so they didn't say anything about it either. And there's this elephant in the room, and after it was over, they left, and nothing was ever said. And and with cancer, there's something that's sometimes not ever said, that when it hit me, it smacked me in the face. And what smacked me in the face was the word death. It just made me think of death. And it is inevitable. If they come up with a cure for cancer and I experienced that cure, I realized that I'm going to die anyway after that. And if I'm a cancer survivor, it's still there. And it's the elephant in the room that sometimes is never talked about, something that we all have to face. But there's a verse in the Bible that says that see that you walk circumspectly, not as fools but as wise, redeeming the time because the days are evil. And I thought, why is that in the Bible? People that I think I was asked, because I'm a very positive person, I am, and I'm going to be. I'm just taking you through a little darkness right now before the dawn and the joy and the flourishing. And every day that we're alive, whether we have cancer or not, is a step closer to death. We all have to experience it. But another thing that it says is that we are seeking cures, and we're seeking to survive, and those are God-given desires, and we're going to leave those in there, and we're going to strive for those to the best of our ability. So how do we add flourish to this elephant sitting in the room, staring us in the face and smacking us in the face? How do we add flourish to that? Well, first of all, it says, this is the day that the Lord hath made. We will be glad and rejoice in it. And Jesus Christ said, I am come that they might have life and I have it more abundantly. So God's aware of this thing smacking us in the face, and He has given us principles and things where we can flourish in the midst of this crisis that we are in. And I would like to give some of those to you. Okay? These are universal principles, just like gravity. If you spend your life trying to defy gravity, you may hurt yourself. Okay? You have to adjust for gravity and to do things with it. Okay? It's like a user's manual. God says that I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Okay? And one of the things that we have noticed as we have studied mankind is that, and people tell us all the time, is a positive mental attitude will help you get through cancer and survive it. And people are telling me that all the time, and that is true. And I'm going to give you some real reasons. A positive mental attitude is not specific enough. I want to get very specific on how to do that and give you principles, because it's like oil in a car. If you drive a car without any oil, it's going to break down. Okay? You need to put oil in it, but you also need to put specific. I have 3 cars, they have different kinds of oil. And so I have to get the specific thing for the specific situation. Okay? And I think these principles are from the Bible, and they're very robust. So a positive mental attitude is what we can do in general, but I think the Bible has some things that God can give us to take care of what we are doing and not necessarily hit or miss. Okay, first of all, I think there are levels of flourishing. The first one is being honest. Okay? Being honest. And there's a verse that says, be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. Okay? And it also says, I cried unto the Lord with my voice. So the first thing that I think in flourishing is let's be honest and say, and with your voice, and I think whether you're a follower of Jesus or not, I think this will work for you or not. It's just you can go out and I say, God, when I found out, I said, God, I have cancer. Oh. And I put all the emotion that I felt into it, and I cried out to the Lord with my voice. And of all the verses about prayer in the Bible, this is the only one that doesn't say you'll get what you ask for. It says, and the peace of God will guard your hearts and mind through Christ. And it says, this peace will surpass all understanding. What would you do to have that? What would anyone do to have peace that surpasses all understanding? The peace of God in your heart. And that comes from crying out to God, crying out and being honest to Him. Say, God, I want to survive. I've got cancer and I want to survive. You have to, the first level of flourishing in this situation is being honest and crying out with your voice and letting God know exactly where you are and how you through. And another thing that you can do is there's a book right in the middle of the Bible called the Psalms. Okay? And it's kind of an instruction on how to pray. Whether you're a follower of Jesus or not, it could help. Okay? I believe it's a universal principle. So I'm just giving you my perspective. And they're full of them. A lot of them, if you go to church, you see about a lot of praise songs. They say praise God, things like that. But there's 150 songs, and some of them are about people who are sick and had gone through bad circumstances, and it tells you how to pray those feelings to God. Okay, so the first level is being honest to God with your voice, letting Him know how you feel with the emotion and let it loose. The second thing is that it says that I know all things work together for good for those that love God and according to your purposes. Anything that comes in your life can be something as a tool for your good and your betterment. When I first got cancer, one of my goals was to be an early riser, and I really slacked off on doing that. I really was not getting up early enough as I wanted to do, and my cancer affected my kidneys, and therefore about 5 every morning, I had an incredible urge to relieve myself. I could not stay in bed anymore. I had to get up. My eyes got open. I was laying in bed trying to fight it. No, I'm not going to get up. I don't want to get up yet. I'm not going to get up. And then I would just stay there. And eventually, if I didn't get up, there would be a puddle in the bed. and so I got up. And it was an incredible thing. The cancer was making me get up and do what I wanted to do in the first place anyway. It was working towards my good. Okay? Cancer is not necessarily a good thing, but it says things can work for your good. And I was actually getting up against necessarily my will. Next thing is, this thing about hair loss. You know, my hair started falling out. And I didn't think that was a good thing either. Okay? I had my wife, shave my head because it was going to kind of go anyway. And, people didn't tell me. I thought it was just the head. But I went to the shower and I started showering and it was falling off everywhere. And I go, well, they didn't tell me that. What is up with this? But anyway, I take a lot less time getting ready in the morning. I don't have to shave either. I haven't shaved since June. And so, as a school project, my youngest child, Grace, had a gratitude poster that she started. And then my wife started including things on her, and she just kind of took it over. And it's starting to fill up with things that we are seeing the things that are working towards our good as a result of getting myeloma cancer that I have. Benefits that our family has experienced because of that. These tools that have been in our life, we're not saying it is good, but it is a tool that has been acting in our life for our good. And so we've been experiencing that as well. The next one is this. Galatians 6:9, it says, let's not be weary in well-doing, but while there's time, let's do all the good we can to those who are around us. Cancer is something that can possibly make you self-centered and make you come and make everything come to you and make people work at benefiting you, which is good. But I would tell you a quick story. I went to Kansas City. I had to go to my kids to Kansas City KU Med, and I stayed in the Hope Lodge, which is sponsored by the American Cancer Society. Well, I was on my tour there, and they were showing me the place and showing how to get it. And there's a lady there who was completely bald. She was much older than I. She could barely get around. And she sat down, and she looked at me, and she said, if there's anything you need, you let me know. I said, thank you. But then I thought in my mind, what? You've got to be kidding. If I'm staying here, man, I'm going to do all I can to help you. But she was so focused on helping those around her. In spite of what any ounce of energy that she seemed to be dedicated to helping other people. And I think that cancer, people that have cancer, we should use this as a time, even though we have great needs, to focus on meeting the needs of other people and see what we can do for other people. However we can do, what we can do. I just pictured in my mind a person walking down my street and they look a little bit confused, and we see a lady that's been possibly attacked by cancer, and she's kind of talking on, she gets her walker, she's going over to help that person. She's making it over there. And then another gentleman who's also possibly attacked, it's not getting along well, he's got a cane, and they're going over to that person, and they get to that person, she goes, I'm here first. And he goes, no, I saw him. She flips a switch, and some spikes come out, and she goes, I'm going to help this guy. I saw him first. And he backs up, and he takes out a cane, he goes, no, I'm going to help him. And they get about him, there's pitch battles in the street of cancer people trying to help others. Because we are so focused on helping others, and that is one of the keys to flourishing also. And so I want to add one other thing. In order to flourish, that's a high standard to keep. It's a high standard to maintain, because this thing is really doing some bad things to our body, and and our energy is going down. My energy is going down. I don't have the energy I've had in the past, and things like that. And it's a high cost in our bodies, and it's a high standard to take, and we're not going to reach it all the time. And one other thing in there, in the Bible, that I think is very important is that the concept of grace. God says, for the grace of God that brings salvation, every man hath appeared to all men. We've all seen the grace of God. It says, teaching us that denying ungodliness and worldly lust, we should live soberly, righteously, and godly in this present world. What that means is there's a high standard, and we can't make it. We cannot reach that standard of trying to do these things that God says, in order to flourish, you have to do this and this and this and this. We can't make it. But he says, we acknowledge that we can't make it. His grace comes in, he says, I know you can't make it. I'm going to show you and empower you how to get to that spot. Okay, so I'd like to say that, yes, we want a cure. And that's a God-given drive to get a cure. We want to survive. That is a God-given drive to survive. And I want us to go to the next level, and I want us to flourish while we're in this state that we're in right now. I want us to flourish. We're going to flourish that by being honest to God. Saying, God, I don't like what's happening to me. Okay? And then we're going to flourish by looking how the things that are happening to us are tools for our good. Where we actually see things, journal it, write it down, where things that are happening to you, they're actually happening to you good as a result of these things. And we're going to flourish as a result of us not focusing necessarily on ourselves. We have to focus, I have to take care of myself, I have to do what the doctor says, I have to do all those procedures, but also see what I can do for other people around me. So while I'm going through this, and while I'm going through all the stages, I'm going to flourish at it as well. Thank you.